announce the arrival of our distinguished guests and CDOT board members who are being escorted onto the dais by Chief Vigilance Officer CDOT. I request you all to please switch off your mobile phones or keep them on the silent mode if these are very urgently required. I request you all to please observe all COVID-19 safety protocols. Please wear your masks properly and maintain social distancing. I request you all to please settle down and take your respective seats. Distinguished guests and dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen, Namaskar and a very good afternoon to all of you. As it is known to all of us that we at CDOT, as per the guidelines from the Central Vigilance Commission, have been observing the Vigilance Awareness Week 2020 that commenced from 27th October onwards. The week started with the Integrity Pledge by all the stakeholders of the organization who vowed to eradicate corruption from various spheres of their lives by embracing the ideals of honesty, integrity, transparency, and accountability. The theme for this year's Vigilance Awareness Week is Satark Bharat, Samriddh Bharat, Vigilant India, Prosperous India. We are indeed privileged to have in the midst of us our eminent guest for the day, Shri Rajiv Verma, Officer on Special Duty, Central Vigilance Commission, who has so kindly agreed to grace this occasion with his esteemed presence. Our other guest, Shri Sanjeev Kumar Chadha, Managing Director, National Agricultural Cooperative Marketing Federation of India Limited, NAFED, shall be joining us shortly. We also have the pleasure of the gracious company of Shri Vikas Agrawal, Director, SPPI, Department of Telecommunications, Government of India. In line with our green initiative of protecting our Mother Earth, may I request Dr. Rajkumar Upadhyay, Executive Director CDOT, to formally welcome our esteemed guests with the potted saplings. Shri Rajiv Verma, Officer on Special Duty, Central Vigilance Commission. We extend a very warm and hearty welcome to you, sir. Shri Vikas Agrawal, Director, SPPI, Department of Telecommunication, Government of India. We extend a very warm and hearty welcome to you, sir. Thank you, sir. It's a defining ritual in our country to invoke the blessings of the Almighty at the auspicious start of an occasion, to steer us through the path of darkness and ignorance to the whole new world of wisdom and enlightenment. May I please request Shri Surya Prakash, Chief Vigilance Officer CDOT, to please accompany all our guests and dignitaries on the dais for the lamp lighting ceremony. Tamso ma Jyotirgamay. Let us offer our prayers to the God of light to always keep us treading on the continuous path of prosperity and development. May God give us strength to surmount all hurdles that impede our path to enlightenment. May I now request Sri Surya Prakash, Chief Vigilance Officer CDOT, for the welcome address.
A very warm welcome to all the intellectuals here in this beautiful auditorium and Bangalore who are connected to us via video conference. Fragrance of flower spread in the direction of the wind, but the reputation, values, ethics and talent of CDOT and CDOTium spread in all directions. Today, we have gathered here for a very important and fruitful discourse on preventive vigilance. And by the end of session, we intend to distribute awards to those who have done well in the competitions held during the Vigilance Awareness Week. Stars shine at night, but there are stars which shine in broad daylight. One such shining star is among us, EDR Sri R.K. Upadhyay. Sir, you are such an inspiring personality and great leader that entire CDOT has aligned itself to achieve much better than what they have been doing so far. Sir, when we look at your vast experience, you have worked across many great organizations. If I name, you started your journey from DRDO, then you worked in DOT, BSNL, TII, Prasar Bharati, and now in CDOT. On the academic side, you have done MTech from IIT Roorkee, IIM Bangalore, you have done your MBA and PhD. Then from Syracuse University, you obtained Public Policy Program Certificate. This is a great accomplishment in itself, sir. We are all inspired and blessed to have you as our ADR. Sir, from the core of our heart and on behalf of entire CDOT, we welcome you, sir. As you pass across roads, you often come across a slogan, Savdhani Hati, Durghatna Ghati. I want to slightly tinker the words. Satarkata Hati, to जवाबदेही और पारदर्शिता गई. Every citizen has to work as agent of vigilance. We cannot leave this important work to one or two officers. Every citizen has its role. We are honored that today we are having with us a very eminent and very experienced personality with us, Sri Rajiv Verma ji, his OSD CVC. Sir, on behalf of CDOT, I extend a very hearty welcome to you. We have with us Director 2 CDOT Board, Sri Jan Bhatnagar ji. He needs no introduction for you. You all know him very well. He has been pivotal in accomplishment of Anurag project of DRDO, then the migration projects and many other projects which he has guided under his supervision. Sir, you are an asset for this department and everybody admire your work. We are very happy to see you here, sir. Thank you. I also extend a very warm welcome to Sri Vikas Agrawal. He is Director SPPI in DOT headquarters. I am very thankful that on a very short notice he accepted our invitation and agreed to be with us on this auspicious occasion. We are expecting one more guest lecturer. He is MD NAFED, and maybe he'll join within 15 minutes. He is a very talented personality. NAFED was earlier a very loss-making society, but due to his leadership quality, he has made a 360 turnaround, and now NAFED is making hundreds of crores of profit. So it will be an occasion to listen him and to learn from him. As you are aware, every program is made successful by its audience. I welcome here Registrar and CFO Sri G. Mukandan, my counterpart VO Sri Dr. Lakshmi in Bangalore, all group leaders, team leaders, managers, senior research engineers, other senior officers, support staff, and all ladies and gentlemen. I really thank you from the core of my heart for being here. You are all are welcome here. Thank you. Aman.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Rajesh Sharma, Director CDOT, could not be a part of today's event. We shall be now playing his video message that he shared with us to mark his presence in today's function. Can we have the video, please?
Good morning, friends. Hearty greetings on the occasion of Vigilance Awareness Week, which is being observed. Today, I'm not able to be with you personally, physically, because I had to go out for some urgent personal work. But I'm very much thankful to our CVO, Mr. Surya Prakash, who suggested that even though I am outside, I can be with you by using this technology. As you are aware, government is celebrating, we are all celebrating this Vigilance Awareness Week with the theme Satark Bharat, Samradh Bharat. Vigilant India, Prosperous India. I am sure we all understand the linkage between being vigilant and being prosperous. Now, vigilance comes at two levels. One is, of course, the organizational level. We, as an organization at CDOT, have to make sure that all our actions are transparent. In this regard, you may be aware that an independent external monitor to oversee the large-scale projects has been appointed recently. We are also using the GEM portal and the CPP portal for procurement. We are also conscious always that all our actions have to be transparent and subject to scrutiny by anyone who chooses to look at our processes. Apart from the organizational awareness, the most important thing is the individual awareness. And the events like this, which we are celebrating now, go a long way in ensuring that individual awareness about being vigilant is propagated and gets embedded in the psyche of every individual, every employee, every person who is here. CDOT as an organization has been doing great work, and now with the joining of our new ED, Dr. R.K. Upadhyay, I am sure that we will touch new heights in the years to come. My good wishes and best wishes to all of you, and many thanks to the organizers for making this happen. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to mention that we are connected with our Bangalore office through our very own video conferencing solution. May I now request Shri Jayan Bhatnagar, Director CDOT, to deliver his address.
Good afternoon, friends. I think we are going to have very nice lectures by a distinguished guest. I'll just take 2 minutes. When we discuss vigilance, vigilance comes from within. I think it's the upbringing, it's your interaction, it's your experience that teaches you. And I think that is something, once you have it within, it comes to your family. When it comes to your family, it comes to your workplace. And when it comes to your workplace, it will come to the nation. I'll just quickly cite you one small incident. When I was a student in US, so I went there for getting a driving license. It's very tough to get a driving license in US, at least in those days it was. So we were all standing in a queue, and there was pin drop silence. People normally don't talk there. There was a pin drop silence. I was way at the back of the queue. Suddenly, there was a young girl sitting there, about 18, 20 years. She must have been a student, and usually students do part-time job. All of a sudden, she shouted very loudly. What I heard was, "You think I will take money and do your work?" And then she said, "We don't do it like this in our country, in this country." So that message was so loud and clear. It communicated at that time two things to me, which I haven't forgot. A, it was the pride of an individual about its own country. So she was so certain how her country works and what her role is in that country. Second, the message was very clear. You have come to my country. You have to behave like my country behaves. So these two things I think we still have to achieve in India, that kind of pride and that kind of certainty and assurance that I can stand up on behalf of this country and say everybody here is honest. I think if I am honest, at least I have done my part of the job, it will encourage others to be the same. The person whom she was talking to was a Southeast Asian person, so I could make out that he's a foreigner. And that's, at that time I didn't like, as a student you don't know what vigilance is. But when I correlate now to that incident, I realize how badly we need it in this country. My only request is that all of us, let us do our jobs in a way so that we can stand up and say the same one day in our country, irrespective of where we are, what we are doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for highlighting the importance of probity and uprightness in such an anecdotal manner. Ladies and gentlemen, may I now request Dr. Rajkumar Upadhyay, Executive Director CDOT, for addressing us on this momentous occasion.
Chief guest of today's function, CMD NAFED Shri Sanjeev Kumar Chadda ji, who is joining us shortly. OSD CBC Shri Rajiv Verma ji. Director 2 CDOT Board Shri Jayant Bhatnagar ji. Director 1 Dr. Rajesh Sharma ji, who addressed us through video message. CVO CDOT Shri Surya Prakash ji. Director SPPI Vikas Agrawal ji, senior officers of CDOT, my dear CDOTian friends, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to all of you. We are at the concluding function of this Vigilance Awareness Week today. At the outset, I would like to congratulate the whole team, Mr. Surya Prakash ji, Dr. Lakshmi, and all of you who have worked tirelessly for running this Vigilance Awareness Week as per the directives of CVC and done it very, very well. As you are aware, integrity of individuals affects the integrity of organization and vice versa. Collective performance of the organizations decides the performance of a nation. So if all the organizations do well, the nation will do well. And if nation does well, it will improve the quality of life, the living standard in the country. We as an organization, CDOT, are committed to promote integrity and probity in our conduct. I extend my gratitude to all the CDOTians who have renewed their pledge and commitment to follow the law and probity in public life. We all took pledge together on 27th. Corruption is a major hindrance to the progress of a nation. We as a country have a long way to go. If you look at the findings published by Transparency International of 2019, we are still ranked 80th in the world globally, means 79 countries are ahead of us in terms of perception of corruption. So this is measured through CPI, Corruption Perception Index. So we are 80th among 79 countries are ahead. As far as the score is concerned, we have scored 41 out of 100. Yes, we have improved a bit. In 2014, our score was 38. From 38, we have come to 41. Our ranking was 85. We have improved a little bit. We have come to 80. But look at the very small countries like New Zealand, Denmark. They have scored 87 with a rank 1. Countries like Finland, Singapore, they scored around 85, 86. They are very small countries, but their performance in terms of corruption, and look at their living standards. I think there is some kind of correlation between corruption and the living standard. The countries which are at the bottom of the table, the living standards are really pathetic there. So we as a talented country, I'm sure we as a talented country can definitely improve our ranking if we all go to be vigilant. So how is this conducting this Vigilance Awareness Week helps us as a nation? This is done to emphasize the importance of integrity and probity in public life. This year's theme, as Dr. Rajesh was mentioning, is Satark Bharat, Vigilant Bharat. Satark Bharat, Samriddh Bharat, Vigilant India, Prosperous India. It is to emphasize that if all of us are vigilant, and work towards reducing the corruption, the resources which go away to the corruption can be used for the development of a nation. Therefore, the living standards will become better, the quality of life will be better. So this particular week, this whole theme is re-emphasize that maintaining integrity and probity in life, public life, is very, very important. Awareness Week campaign and CROT affirms our commitment as an organization to promotion of integrity and probity in public life through participation of all employees, our dear friends. Now, vigilance has three aspects. If vigilance has to be implemented and executed in an organization, it has three parts. It encompasses three parts. First is preventive vigilance. Preventive vigilance means you design policies for your organization in such a manner that it leads to lesser corruption. For example, you have a policy that whatever I'm going to purchase through tender. This is a policy. And these policies, based on these policies, your internal processes need to be executed, because you have made the policy, but the processes have not been set. So internal processes is to be set, which actually align with the policy. Finally, it is the people who execute those processes and who are responsible for a day-to-day life activities. So all these three are aligned in a way that it reduces the corruption. So if you make your policies, you put your right processes, give freedom to the people to work as per the processes, definitely the corruption level will be reduced. This is the part of the preventive part. So, but good governance comes into play, because in spite of this, at times everything cannot be black and white. At times you would have, as managers, you would have seen at times that the kind of problem which you have in file is not written in black and white. So there the good governance comes into play, and the decisions should be made in a most effective manner, keeping the interests of the organization, keeping the well-being of the organization. In this regard, training and capacity development, capacity building is an important parameter. In fact, I was discussing with Surya Prakash Sahab that in my previous organization, Prasar Bharati, the CBO, what they did, they went around the country. They went around the country and they found what all mistakes people are doing. All times the mistakes are not nullified. That much we must understand, because people do commit mistakes and we should allow people to commit mistakes. So all time people don't commit mistake. It's all time it is not malified. So they came out with the their observations, and they issued a manual kind of thing that these are the kind of problems we've found in the field, and this is way you can handle it. So capacity building and the training is a very important part. The second aspect of the vigilance is participative. It deals with the participation of all stakeholders, whether internal or external. So if we all participate in the sense that, if someone is not doing well correctly as per the procedure and it is detrimental to the interest of the organization, he participates, he brings it to the notice of somebody. Similarly, we have whistleblower policy, RTIs. These are meant for external world. If you are not doing something good as an organization or hiding something, it can be reported to the agencies. We also took a pledge on 27th, na rishwat lunga, na dunga. And I will report anything happening on this regard to the respective agencies. So this is the participative way. The last part is preventive. Last part is punitive. Punitive means if the corruption has happened, you need to punish the person. And it is required, in fact, this punitive part for any organization should be seldom used. It should be a very, 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 extreme circumstances you should use this particular clause. It should be in a manner that it becomes a deterrent. People, know that if something I do wrong, I will be punished. Because why I am saying this, I have seen in my experience that at times if you put a lot of pressure on people that vigilance will come, this vigilance will catch you, it scuttles the creativity and productivity of an employee. Because people think, yaar, mere ko to kuch nahi karna, mere ko to retire fix se hona hai, they will, escape. So this should be such that it still promotes creativity and productivity. We should not allow this to come in a way which hampers our creativity and productivity. And it should, therefore, all the employees, as a senior officers, we must see that the harassment to the employees because of these wrong things is avoided. In fact, I will tell you, personally, I will be very happy that our employees commit mistakes. Absolutely no problem. You can commit mistakes while doing something good for the organization. It will not be, at least this management will not look at that, why did you commit mistake. Speed should be the key. In doing the speed, in doing your work with the speed, if you commit mistake, I have absolutely no problem as an organization. So you are allowed to commit mistakes as long as they are distinguished from the malified intentions. I can give you a very simple example. It's a real example. Very recently it happened. ICC, this blind cricket was having world finals in Bangalore, and it was being played in Chinnaswamy Stadium. I hope I have time. Yeah. So it was being played in Chinnaswamy Stadium. So they said, why don't you cover live? It will, especially able section will be benefited. So we agreed. We gave them a quote of 10 lakh that will cover your tournament final live. 10 lakh was the, and it was to be covered with the vehicle, the setup available in the Bangalore. But what happened, sir, in the meantime, this vehicle got diverted somewhere for some VVIP coverage, and we had to get the vehicle from the Chennai to cover it. But our rule says if the vehicle comes from outside, the journey period also will be counted because it is charged per day basis. So the quote became 20 lakh. First 10 lakh is approved by our CEO. It is through e-office. So when the next quote was given to them, now since the vehicle is come from China, you pay 20 lakh. Naturally, they will get baffled that suddenly why is that yesterday your quote was 10 lakh and today it has become 20 lakh. But if you go by black and white rules, you have to charge only 20 lakh. When I spoke to headquarters in Delhi, most of them said, नहीं यार विजिलेंस आ जाएगा, ये ऑफिस में अप्रूव हुआ है 10 लाख का, हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते, उनको करना है करो, नहीं तो नहीं होगा मैच, हम लाइव नहीं कवर करेंगे. But this is to be, now the question for them was, how come 20 lakh, which is as per rule in black and white, can be converted to 10 lakh? So there the manager's judgment comes into play. So if I have to do it alone, people might question me. So it is better to you form a committee and justify this justify this, and then we justified and we gave them, even though the vehicle was coming from Chennai, we charged them 10 lakh. So what I'm trying to say, that don't, black and white rules are guidance. As long as the intention is non-malified, it is okay. CDOT being a research and research organization, it understands the significance of rules and protocols very well. Actually, it is a matter of pride for all of us that in 3.5 decades of our journey, we have turned out to be a very ethical organization by adopting methods which naturally promote integrity. We have systems of checks and balances. All our tenders happen online. We have, we do advertise, we do take, and it goes through the process. So I welcome CMD NAFED, Shri Chadda Sahab, for joining us. So welcome, Chadda Sahab. So as an organization, we are quite good, and today we have two esteemed guests with us. We have very experienced officers. Shri Barmaji has been with CVC for last 30 years. Definitely his experience will help us in that what actions we need to take, what precautions we need to take. And we also have MD NAFED, Shri Chadda ji. He will enlighten us with the success story of NAFED. That Surya Prakash Sahab was telling, NAFED was a loss-making organization. Today it has become highly profitable, and how the honesty has been promoted and how the organization has been working very well to post profits. So we'll definitely get enlightened with your wisdom. I thank you both of you sirs for agreeing to our request very short notice, and you will. I think all of you will get great inputs from both of them. Finally, I vote to join the fight against corruption and assure all that no act of corruption we will tolerate in CDOT. At the same time, I also will say that mistakes will be permitted as long as their intentions are not malified. So don't be worried that you have committed an error, you will be punished. No, as long as the intentions are not malified, they are towards the speed, because one of the complaints when I interact with people from CDOT is timelines, that we don't follow timelines. And at times, maybe the timeline delays because of the lot of procedures involved. So we need to use our judgment to work very intelligently to see that our timelines are met. I would also like to say that I have seen the tendency, I don't know what about CDOT, I have seen the tendency in organizations to pulling each other's leg. If somebody is doing well, the other guy will complain. So they will put some complaint here and there. I definitely, I'm going to tell that if any of my friend here or in our organization gives a wrong complaint, he will be punished. We will not tolerate any of the complaints against well-meaning officers, because all of us are working very, very hard. All of us work very hard in this process. If just for pulling legs, if somebody takes this into their hand, that will not be welcome. And you also know that CVC has also has made a decision that if the whistleblowers and somebody makes a false complaint, he will be punished. So I'm sure, because we being a very ethical organization, such a situation doesn't arise in our organization. We'll work and be vigilant. And finally, I think a lot of competitions have been held during this week. I congratulate all the winners. I'm sure that their participation will go in a long way in promoting integrity and probity, and we remain committed to the nation building, and we remain vigilant for the progress of this country and progress of our organization. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for bringing to the fore the critical importance of the ideals of accountability, transparency in the overall growth of the organization and the nation, and the best vigilance practices to curb the menace of corruption. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are also joined by Shri Sanjeev Kumar Chadha, Managing Director, NAFED, May I request Dr. Rajkumar Upadhyay, Executive Director CDOT, to formally welcome Shri Sanjeev Kumar Chadha with a potted sapling. We extend a very warm and hearty welcome to you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we are privileged to have in the midst of us Shri Rajiv Verma, who is currently working as the officer on special duty in the Central Vigilance Commission. An alumnus of the University of Delhi, Shri Rajiv Verma has also headed the Vigilance Unit of Lok Nayak Hospital, Delhi, and worked with the Military Intelligence Directorate of Armed Forces Headquarters. He has worked with Central Vigilance Commission in various capacities, whereby he has handled cases pertaining to various organizations of central government and Delhi government, along with several PSUs. He has headed the Legal Cell, RTI Cell, Confidentiality Cell, and Policy Division of the Commission. He has been a member of various study groups and committees, including the one that finalized the Integrity Index to measure the efficiency, transparency, and ethical functioning of an organization. He has also been conducting trainings and workshops on various vigilance-related subjects as a guest faculty. It's a pleasure to have you here, sir. May I request you to please deliver your talk.
Upadhyay, Mr. Chadha, Mr. Surya Prakash, other officers present on the dais, and my dear friends. First of all, a very good afternoon to you. And I congratulate CDOT for doing the work, research work that they are doing, and in the present scenario, especially in this Corona period and post-Corona period, the activities of CDOT will gain more and more importance, and it is going to become a very important organization in the government system to ensure that the information technology is used to the maximum possible without personal interaction, not only for the corona, due to corona, but also somehow this minimizing personal interaction in various fields, it also minimizes corruption in the sector or in public life. It has its own importance that I will be, given the time permits, I will be emphasizing on that also, But first of all, about the theme of this year, that Vigilant India, Prosperous India. Now, in some of the organizations where I went for lectures, the people asked me that, sir, what is the correlation between vigilance and prosperity? Vigilance is about punishing people, finding faults, and recognizing the acts of misdeed, and then taking departmental action. It has got nothing to do with the financial aspect, whereas prosperity of a country, or if an economy prospers, that is an altogether different method, different field. So we don't understand that how vigilance can make an organization prosperous. So I told them in detail. That was, of course, they were very detailed sessions. But about the Central Vigilance Commission, that it was the financial corruption which led to the establishment of Central Vigilance Commission. I don't know whether you are aware of the how the Central Vigilance Commission came into existence. So I will take a couple of minutes. That immediately after independence in the year 1947, Mr. Ramakrishna Dalmia, he was one of the very prominent businessmen at that time. So when he acquired a media giant, Bennett Coleman and Company, which publishes the Times of India Group, so he required money for that. He was chairman of an insurance company, life insurance company.
So what he did, that he diverted funds from that life insurance company for his personal use to acquire the controlling stake in Barrett Coleman and Company. And after a couple of years, when this issue came to the notice of Mr. Feroz Gandhi, Member of Parliament, he raised this issue in the Parliament that the people who are paying premium to the insurance companies, that is public money and that is held by that insurance company as a trustee. And the management, if it is siphoning of the money, if it is diverting the money to some other use, then it is playing with the trust of the people. So the government should do something about that. There was detailed discussion in the Parliament, and as a result of the discussion, it was decided that all the life insurance companies in the country would be merged into one entity. And you would be surprised to know that at that time, there were about 247 private sector life insurance companies in 1948-49. And all those companies, they were finally merged into one entity, and the entity came to be known as Life Insurance Corporation of India. So that was the way LIC was set up by an act of the Parliament, by merging all the private sector insurance companies, with the belief that now the public money would be secure, it would be safe. The management would be in the hands of the government, and nobody would be able to divert the money to for some other illegal purposes or in irregular manner. The money would be managed professionally and for the people of the people who are the policy holders of LIC. But within 1 year of the establishment of LIC of India, a major scam took place in LIC itself. You might not have heard the name of Mr. Haridas Mundra. He is not related to Jagmohan Mundra, the Jeep scandal infamous person, but he was a stockbroker based in Calcutta, and he held majority shareholding in many companies, and 6 of his companies which were not doing well, along with the by conniving with a few officers of LIC, he sold the shares of his 6 companies to LIC of India at exorbitant price. At that time, the money was rupees 12.4 million, 1.24 crore, but in US dollar it was 3.2 million US dollars. So that was a lot of money at that time. Again, this issue came to the notice of Mr. Feroz Gandhi. He raised it in the Parliament, and the then Finance Minister, Mr. T. Krishnamachari, he said that nothing of the sort has happened. He gave this statement, one-line statement in the Parliament, but Mr. Feroz Gandhi persisted. And when he persisted, an inquiry was ordered. Inquiry was conducted by Justice M.C. Chagla, Muhammad Karim Chagla, one of the most respected names in the judiciary. It was an open inquiry held in Bombay at that time, in an open hall. Anybody could walk in and see the proceedings, and there was huge crowd, so much crowd that they had to put loudspeakers outside the hall so that people could at least hear what was happening inside. The inquiry continued for 24 days, and after 24 days of inquiry, it was established that indeed officials of LIC and Mr. Haridas Mundra, they had connived to defraud the LIC. And Mr. Mundra, he was arrested from Hotel Claridge's in Delhi. At that time there was no 5-star hotel in Delhi, that was the best hotel. And he had a permanent suite in that hotel booked in his name down the year. He was arrested from there and he was jailed for 22 years. But this issue of corruption in public life, or this increasing menace of corruption in public life, it remained. So in a debate in the Parliament for the grant for the Ministry of Home Affairs, the issue was again raised, and Honorable Shri Lal Bahadur Shastri, then Home Minister, he immediately responded and he set up a committee under the chairmanship of Mr. K. Santhanam, who also happened to be the finance minister of the country at one point of time. The committee came to be known as the Santhanam Committee. I would not go into many details that the findings of the Santhanam Committee and all that because of the lack of time, but it pointed out that there is no common standard in deciding cases involving lack of probity and integrity in public life. It means that there is no uniformity in the vigilance administration in the Government of India, to put it in simple terms. And it said that there has to be an apex organization which should evolve policies relating to vigilance administration, which should oversee vigilance administration of all the government organizations, and who should be the guiding light in this field. Then it suggested that an organization can be set up by the name of Central Vigilance Commission. And on the recommendations of Central Santhanam Committee, CENT came into existence in the year 1964, 11th of February 1964 to be precise, through a resolution of the Government of India. So I think all of you might have heard about that Jain Hawala case. During the hearing of Jain Hawala case in the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court gave directions to the Government of India to give statutory status to the CVC, as well as to provide it powers and authority to supervise the functioning of Central Bureau of Investigation. So finally in 2003, CVC Act was passed. Now CVC is an statutory authority, and it has superintendence over the functioning of Central Bureau of Investigation also. So the whole point I wanted to focus on one point, that it was the corruption, the financial corruption, which pointed out towards the need of a proper vigilance in public life. And when you stop this menace of corruption, when you can reduce this menace of corruption, there would be less siphoning off of money. The money is not siphoned off, money remains in the system. It can be used for the welfare of the people, for the upliftment of the economy, for the upliftment of the people. And when there is economic progress, the country, the people, they prosper. That is how prosperity and vigilance, they are related. And in the present scenario, with the increasing international economic activities, the activities, the functions of Central Vigilance Commission and the functions of all the vigilance departments of the Government of India, they acquire more and more importance. Why? Because as it was pointed out earlier, that there is an organization which judges countries on the scale of corruption or honesty, whatever you may call it. They give a ranking. And on the base of ranking, the other major economies, the other major organizations, MNCs, they decide that whom to do business and with whom not to do business. You should be perceived as a corruption-free economy. Only then other major economies, only then other major countries, organizations, financial institutions, they would be willing to do business with you. And you can see the example within your own country. It won't be appropriate to name the states, but there are states which are perceived, which are seen as corrupt states, where you can't get your work done without paying bribe to somebody, without political interference. So your own businessmen of this country, they themselves are not willing to set up industries in those states. What happens? the states, they remain backward, they remain poor economically. That is how this corruption, it impacts your economic standard, it impacts your financial status. So it is very important to be seen as a corruption-free economy. It is very important that you are perceived as an honest economy. Only then other countries, other organizations, they would be willing to do business with you. Now that is how this Transparency International it is deciding about the level of honesty. That is an altogether different thing. I do not subscribe to the methodology adopted by them. In fact, in UNODC, when I went to Vienna, I also raised this issue, and it was agreed that the method is not foolproof, or it is not a good method, but then in the absence of another alternative, they are still continuing with it. That is another issue. But as on date, this integrity, CPI of the Transparency International, it is one of the most important tools by which the economy or the country is measured for being an honest or a dishonest economy. Now about this, that what can we do or what should be done to, in the field of vigilance, how to make the country vigilant? What is to be done? It is to be done on two different aspects. One, of course, is the preventive vigilance in an organization, in the government sector. The other is public participation. That is the most important aspect, participation of the people. And how important it is, it can again be emphasized by, I'm quoting from the Santhanam Committee only. Way back, it gave its findings in 1963, in October 1963 to be precise, and in the findings, it said, it discussed the various punitive measures and what requires to be done, but it laid emphasis on the social aspect. Now, to quote from Santhanam Committee, it said, in the long run, the fight against corruption would succeed only to the extent to which a favorable social climate is created. And that is very, very important. It's a very small sentence, but it has got very deep meaning. That we have to create a favorable social climate where corruption is not viewed with some kind of awe. What is happening nowadays? It is a fact of the society. When you see that your neighbor, he is living in a high-rise building, or he's got a palatial house, he has got 2-3 cars, imported cars in his house, his son or daughter is studying abroad, and every evening he, along with his spouse or his family, he moves out to some big market to dine, and his wife, she is always having all those costly ornaments, gold, pearl and diamonds and all that. You do not question that how did he earn this kind of money. You are in awe of him. Everybody wants, यार ये बहुत पैसे वाला आदमी है, इससे मेरा दोस्ती हो जाए, इससे मेरा रिश्ता रहे तो अच्छा है. This is the effect of the society. Now we have to change it. We have to break this chain. First of all, you should think that if this man has earned so much of money, does he have the legal means to have this kind of money? He may be an engineer in PWD, he may be in some organization, or maybe that he is a shopkeeper or some businessman. So he might have earned this money by not paying his taxes, by earning bribe, by taking bribe through some unfair means. First, we have to look We have to see whether he is a person who has earned this money in a fair manner through legal means. If it is that, respect him. If it is not, what you should do, that you have to socially boycott him. That is what is meant by this statement, that in the long run the fight against corruption will succeed only to the extent to which a favorable social climate is created. You have to create a social climate where a corrupt person, a corrupt activity is looked down upon with contempt. Further it says, when such a climate is created and corruption becomes abhorrent to the minds of the people and public servants and social controls become effective, other administrative, disciplinary and punitive measures may become unimportant, may be relaxed and reduced to a minimum. When these social controls, they gain importance, they gain prominence, what will happen? There will be less requirement of the punitive measures. When a person feels that he may have earned so much of money, but what happens? There is nobody in his mohalla or in his city, in his neighborhood who wants to talk to him. There is nobody who wants to interact with him. One person, he may remain aloof, but 8 or 9 persons out of 10, they will feel it. It will pinch them. That what is the use of this money when nobody wants even to talk to me? When I am alone, when he walks out of his house, people turn their faces away. If this kind of atmosphere is created, then these punitive measures will be reduced to a minimum, they won't be required. Moreover, it will create a kind of social atmosphere where the corruption would not be seen something that, you won't remain aloof from that. It won't be seen something that he has earned money, maybe through corrupt means, okay, what do we have to do? Is society में ऐसे ही चलता है. When we stop it, this kind of thinking, when we see कि ऐसे नहीं चलना चाहिए, चलता रहा होगा. Whatever has happened. We can't do anything about that. But yes, today and tomorrow, we can mend it, we can change it. And how to change it? Remain yourself honest. And when you see that there is a person who is dishonest, who has earned money through dishonest means, do not eulogize him. Do not be in awe of him. That is very, very important. Now I want to go further. The public participation, that is a very big, there are many steps that are required. First of all, that a few things that I would like to emphasize on is that whenever you go to a public, to any organization where you are seeking a public service, if you find that there is some fault in the system, please suggest remedial measures. If you find that there is somebody who is not doing your work in a proper manner, please complain against him. There are so many things to be done. We ourselves, as human beings, as a citizen of the country, we have to remain honest. What we do, when we go to an organization to get some kind of permission, some license, whatever the requirement may be, we have to go to office. We don't want to take leave. What do? We are standing at the back of the queue. There are 10 people in front of us. Yeah, mera kaam jaldi kara do. You pay something, 50 rupees, 100 rupees, you find some tout, pay something, get your work done, and you happily go to your office. But you are not realizing what you have done. You are not realizing that what mistake you have committed. You have given somebody an idea that how to remain corrupt or how to become corrupt. Maybe the person was doing his job in a proper manner. First come, first serve. If you are number 10 in the queue, What's the matter? Stand in the queue. Take half day leave. Get your work done as per rules. Why do you want to jump the queue? You jump the queue, pay somebody something, the touts flourish, the touts pay that person on the counter. Now the whole chain, a vicious chain starts. He is getting easy money. He will expect something from the other people also. He will try to manipulate the system. मेरा कंप्यूटर नहीं चल रहा, वो विंडो बंद कर देगा. टाउट विल कम कि मैं करा दूं काम, 5 मिनट में हो जाएगा. Doesn't it happen? It happens. That is how corruption flourishes. So as a citizen of the country, we have to feel responsible. Whatever is our responsibility to see that our work is done as per rules, to wait in the queue. If we have committed a mistake, admit it. You have jumped the red light, the policeman or the traffic police person, he stops you that you jumped the red light, pay a fine of rupees 1000. Most of the people, what they do, कि साहब ये 200 रुपये ले लो ना, मुझे जाने दो. You feel proud, I have saved 800 rupees. No, you have not saved 800 rupees. You have told a policeman that how to become corrupt. You are breeding corruption in this society. It's a poison that you have left in the atmosphere. Don't do that. Committed a mistake, own it. If you pay 1000 rupees, for the next many years, you will remember that due to your mistake, you paid 1000 rupees and you will not commit that mistake again. The policeman will know that there are people, if they have committed a mistake, they are ready to pay the official challan or whatever the fine is, they will not pay him bribe. He will think twice, he will think 10 times before he asks for a bribe. So, public participation, how to remain, if you yourself as a member of the society, you are an important part of the society. If you choose to remain honest, if you choose not to succumb to the any kind of gratification or any kind of whatever the situation may be, if you choose to remain honest, very soon our society can be corruption free. I am not talking about less corruption and all that. I do not believe in that. I believe in a corruption free society. It can be achieved. If it can happen in New Zealand, why can't it happen in India? If it can happen in some other country, if people in USA, they can say with pride कि मेरे देश में ऐसा नहीं होता, it doesn't happen in my country. Why can't we say that it can't happen in my country? We will go by the rule. Now, as an organization, this is about the your personal conduct, the social fabric that I am talking about. Now about the preventive vigilance. The importance of preventive vigilance. What is the importance of preventive vigilance? What is meant by preventive vigilance? People normally talk about vigilance in the sense that punitive vigilance. Punitive vigilance is basically failure of vigilance. Means there were some loopholes in the system which were taken advantage of by a person for his personal gains to indulge in irregular activities. If our system was proper, if all of us were vigilant, he may not have found an opportunity to indulge in such irregular activities. So the most important part of vigilance administration is preventive vigilance. What should be the aim of preventive vigilance in any organization? It is to put in place a system of governance or a system of administration in which the scope of indulging in corrupt activities is eliminated. Our aim should be to put in place a system of administration where the scope is eliminated at all. You do not get an opportunity, even if somebody wants to find a loophole, he cannot find a loophole in the system through which he can indulge in some kind of malified activity for which he can gain something personally. Now, what are the steps, or what is the aim or the objective to ensure transparency? When we think about preventive vigilance, we have to think about transparency in the system. Transparency is the most important aspect in your functioning, in the functioning in any organization. Objectivity. If you are transparent in your functioning, the scope of corruption reduces to a great extent. With one step, transparency. And whenever you have to take a decision based on your discretionary power, or there are many occasions where it is left up to you to take a decision. You have to take a decision objectively, without any kind of showing any kind of favor to any particular person or any particular entity. See what is best for the organization. What does the rule book say? Go by that. Third is accountability. That whosoever is taking a decision, he should be held accountable for it. That yes, he took a decision, I took a decision based on these facts. If it is transparent, if it is objective, he won't hesitate to record it in the file. It can be a recorded document, and at any point of time he can say, yes, I took the decision, this is the reason why I took the decision. It is there, recorded. And fairness. Fairness and objectivity, they are almost similar. Now, what is the next aim of preventive vigilance? To prevent malified intention. We should put in place such systems, such rules, so that malified intention can be prevented. One of the ways is by minimizing the use of discretionary power. Make your system transparent. Standardize your procedures. If you do that, your malified intentions can be prevented to a great extent. One of the, any one of you having a house in Delhi? Is there anyone? So, if you are a resident of Delhi for quite some time, you will remember that there was time when you had to pay your property tax by going to that MCD office. And what happened there? That the person or the inspector, it was left up to him to decide the property tax. Your neighbor might be having a better house, but if he decides that you have to pay more tax, he will calculate more tax, that your roof is this kind and your floor is this kind, your walls are of this kind, and he will say you have to pay 5,000 rupees as property tax. Your neighbor, he might be having a better constructed house, but he pays 100, 200 rupees to the inspector, and the inspector will decide he has to pay only 500 or 1,000 rupees as property tax. It happened. Now, when the central it came to our notice, and I can take some credit for that, because I only pursued it vigorously for more than 6 months, and then finally MCD people, they relented. They started that online, standardized the property tax procedure, that the whole city was divided into 8 or 9 different categories, and for each category a rate was fixed. Because normally what happens, that people living in a particular area, they are of more or less of the similar economic background. In Defence Colony or in Greater Kailash, you cannot find a Jhuggi Jhopdi cluster. Or in a resettlement colony, you cannot find a palatial house. So according to the area, the rates were decided per square meter or per square feet, and now you can simply go to the website of MCD, you give your property details, and as soon as you give your residential address and the PIN code number, immediately that your property tax would be calculated and it will be displayed on your screen. You can pay online. Totally transparent. No scope for discretion. When there is no discretion, there is no corruption. It is transparent, it is objective, and it is without any kind of human interaction, with no discretion. Another aim of preventive vigilance is to ensure procedural mistakes. My experience has been that in 30 to 40% of the cases, people get punished unnecessarily because they committed procedural mistakes. It was not intentional. They had no intention of committing a mistake or committing an irregularity, but what they did, that they did not care for the rules. Rules were there in black and white, but they did not bother for the rules, or they were not aware of the rules. So this thing has to be avoided, that a person who is doing the job to the best of his capability, but somehow he ignored the rules and he got punished. And it can be done very easily, that every organization, it should have a manual of its own. For every, suppose there are tendering activities, or there are other procurement activities, or there are different kind of activities in different organizations. So for these activities, you can have a manual. There are guidelines given by the Central Vigilance Commission, given by the Department of Economic Affairs, given by other organizations. What you can do, that you can summarize them, and you can provide a manual or a booklet in which they can be, the crux of that can be given. Suppose a person is made a member of the tender committee. You people are scientists. You are not aware about the procurement procedure. So about the tendering process, you can have a small booklet of do's and don'ts. Whenever a person is made a member of that tender committee, you please provide him with that booklet. It can be made available on internet or your intranet. You ask him to go through that first. That what are the different steps which are required to be taken, so that there is no unintentional mistake on his part. Because if rules are there, the sanctity of the rules has to be maintained. Rules are there because they are to be followed. They are not there for decorative purpose. How will you ensure that? You make people aware about the rules. You organize training programs time to time. And this Vigilance Awareness Week, it was initially started with this purpose only, because we all are aware of that there are certain rules for everything. But in our day-to-day functioning, we tend to forget. What do? We look back in the file, or if we have a precedent, thus we go according to that. We do not bother to look into the rule book. That is the mistake we commit. That is a very common mistake. So, organize training programs. Tell them about the rules. The latest guidelines, upload them on your intranet. Issue circulars on intranet, so that people can go through them. They will know what is the latest, what changes have taken place. And if they do that, the procedural mistakes, they can be eliminated totally. Preventive vigilance, how does it help in prosperity? It ensures that your goodwill is not lost. Your brand equity is maintained. If you are a corruption-free society, if you are a corruption-free organization, you have a good brand equity. That is one of the very important things as far as the preventive vigilance is concerned. And what else should be done? That you have to educate officials. As I said, that this training programs, putting your guidelines on the website. Now, how to ensure preventive vigilance? That one of the most important aspect in preventive vigilance is simplification of procedures. In Government of India, unfortunately, the procedures are so complicated, even for the simplest of the things, that a person, he gets fed up with the system. Simplify the procedures. Maximize the use of information technology. I need not tell it to you people of CDOT, but maximizing the use of information technology, it goes a long way in reducing corruption in the society. Just as I gave you the example of this house tax. Another example which I can quote, case study that I can quote, is that of in the year 1997, these security instruments, NSC, KVP, etc., from the security press, they were stolen, these financial instruments of worth 460 crore rupees. They were stolen from the Nasik printing press. Nasik printing press is security printing press. 460 crore rupees worth financial instruments, KVP, NSC and all that, blank. They were stolen. And what happened? That the group that had stolen them, they went to remote areas of the country. One group went to Rajasthan, another group went to Assam, some people went to Kerala and Himachal and Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, all those remote areas. They took the instruments of small denominations, 10,000, 20,000, and they went to the post offices, and it's not all that difficult to get a stamp. They went to the post office. I got it issued from Delhi. Please pay me. I require money urgently. When cases starting pouring in the commission, I was looking after Department of Post at that time. So initially we did not take notice of that, but when series of many cases came together, one after every fortnight or after every month, one case, identical case would come, then suddenly something ticked inside me. And then I discussed it with the CVC, and then we called a meeting of the CVO, Department of Post and other officers, and it transpired that 460 crore worth these financial instruments, they were stolen, and these were out of those only. So I told them that why don't you prepare a list, because these are financial instruments, they are printed in the security press. So every single there is a specific unique number given to them. So that would be available in the Nasik press. So you get all these numbers, you send it to your post offices. Then they said that our post, you put it on your that internet. They said that all our post offices are not connected through internet. Then we suggested to them that what you should do, at least your regional main post offices, they are connected through internet. They said yes. And I said that you put it on internet, use the information technology that had started being used at that time. And your regional post offices, you connect it to them and tell them that no local post office would pay for an instrument without getting approval from the regional post office. And the regional post office, it would first go through that list. You can give some kind of negative list, whatever name you want to give. You give it a specific name, let them go through this negative list, and if this instrument appears in that list, it should not be paid. An instrument should be paid only when and it does not appear in the negative list. Then they adopted it, and out of 460 crore, some 423 or 24 crore rupees was saved. Only 34-35 crore rupees was paid. That is how these things, the use of information technology, it helped prevent in preventing a major scam. Of course, 36 crore rupees was a big amount. It is still a big amount, but then 425 crore rupees nearly that was saved. That was a much bigger amount. Commission has itself given the issued guidelines regarding leveraging of technology, how to maximize the use of technology. Put all your information on your website. For all the service provider organizations, whatever forms, the application forms are, they should be available on website. Whatever the requirements are, the documents that are to be attached, that should be available online. The information should be available online. There should be facility for applying online. The person should be able to track his application online. If you do these things, it will help a great deal in preventing corruption. If it prevents corruption, the money that was that could have gone into the pockets of a few individuals, it would remain in the system. People will have faith in the system. Your economic activities would prosper. Instead of being pocketed by some individuals, the money that would be distributed among all the citizens. And when there is economic upliftment, when there are these kind of things, there is prosperity in the society. So it's a it's a very huge subject. We can go on and on, but with the limitation of time, I will stop here. And I thank you for listening to me so patiently and for inviting me over here and for organizing this beautiful function. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for sharing with us your deep insights into the area of vigilance, with interesting examples from the pages of our country's history and also from our moral conscience, including the evolution of the Central Vigilance Commission. It's an honor to have the august presence of Shri Sanjeev Kumar Chadha, who is currently holding the office of the Managing Director, National Agricultural Cooperative Marketing Federation of India Limited, that is NAFED. Shri Chadha has done his Masters in Zoology and Forestry and has a doctorate in Zoology. He has extensively worked on issues related to conservation and sustainable management of natural resources in the state of Odisha and the central government at New Delhi. He has worked in sectors like health, social development, and empowerment of scheduled castes and tribes. He introduced high-tech horticulture in Odisha and extensively worked with small and marginal farmers and introduced new crops, besides working on strengthening the agri-value chain to increase the returns for the farmers. After a brief stint in the Ministry of Defence, he joined NAFED in June 2016 and is striving for financial turnaround of the organization and building a strong interface with the farmers of the country in pulses and oilseed sector. It's an honor to have you here, sir. May I request you to please say a few words on this occasion.
Good evening to all of you. First, my apologies for being late. There was a meeting chaired by secretary, so I had to leave because Surya called and I left immediately. So, first of all, thanks for inviting me here. I'll just briefly share with you the vigilance and preventive vigilance SOPs, and with examples have been shared already with you in detail. I work in an organization which procures from farmers at MSP. You know, these days a lot of focus on MSP. We procure pulses and oilseeds from all over India. When I joined, this organization was just going to be closed. We had an outstanding of around 2,000 crores from banks. So we worked very hard and worked out a one-time settlement with the banks. Initially, there was a proposal that we'll borrow 600 crores from government and then pay. And then over 10 years we'll pay back to the government. But then there was some reluctance because NAFED's past record was not that great. So ultimately we had to pay ourselves. So we started working from 16th, 17th. Surya and me, we were together in defense. Then I left and joined in NAFED. So challenging times. When I joined, there was no salary, money to be for payment of salary. But then 16, 17, we worked very hard and we finalized the one-time settlement and started paying to the banks. Banks were also surprised to get 300 crores in one go. So we paid and one-time settlement was done. After that, the focus of government on agri sector. So we have worked very hard, and I'll share that presentation with you. There's a detailed presentation we often teach in the IIMs now, NAFED turnaround story. So now our turnaround in 2016 was around 500 crores, and right now it's around 23,000 crores. And we are making a profit of, this year we should be making a profit of around 500 crores. And net, I was just discussing in the morning, we have around 700 crores cash in bank right now. So that's how, but then, you know, in any organization like this, we had to boost the morale of the people that was low because a lot of CBI cases going on and all. We worked very closely with CBC. I went and met CBC and we got IEM appointed, very senior retired IAS officer. He is now the internal external monitor who advises on tenders and improvements. So Rajiv ji, he explained very in detail that our transparency has to be there. So we brought in a lot of transparency. Since we deal with traders who buy pulses and oilseeds online, daily we sell around 200 crores. Earlier, there was a system that for EMD, which is to be released to the unsuccessful bidders, they had to run to the offices to get it released. But then we changed it. So now we have a system of wallets where unsuccessful bidders, the money automatically gets returned to the wallets. And nobody has to come. Similarly, if you buy, let's say 500 tons of pulses or oilseeds from us, so you have to get the delivery order, we call it DO. You have to run to the office, get the physical delivery order issued, then you go to the central warehousing, go down and get the stocks released. Now what we are doing is online only we are issuing the DOs to the buyers. So that kind of interface we have reduced. And one very important thing, which is very simple, is that if you have to get the work done from the team, we have to ignore genuine mistakes and we have to punish the mischiefs. If somebody is doing mischief in the garb of the genuine mistake, we have to take action. But last 4 years I've seen our team has been motivated and day and night we have worked. After COVID has started, we are distributing food grains all over the country. Last 6-7 months, we have never missed office except a few Sundays. Everybody is working and they are motivated. We are incentivizing them. We pay 14 months salary instead of 12 months salary to them. All incentives we are giving. And then all other welfare steps we are taking. So that's simple thing which we have done, but transparency has really helped. So if our systems are transparent and if the ease of doing business is, I think, adopted, definitely our systems are, the corruption can be reduced, it can be reduced, and we can move towards zero corruption scenario, which in a country like ours, it's a huge challenge basically. So, Surya, I'll share the presentation with you. You can share that with your officers. We have a case study which is done by some management institute. So that can be done, and we'll be very happy to have the feedback. With your department, I have very regular interactions. One of my friends earlier, he was the CBO. He went back to Odisha. He was from my cadre. Now my batchmate is the CBO, Amitabh. He has joined, and your secretary is also a dear friend. So and lots of the telecom officers I know, they are personal friends. So I'm very closely associated. And any one of you, if you please want to visit our office, please come. And we can also have organize an interaction with your department. So let me first thank Surya again for inviting me to this event. and we look forward to meeting you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for sharing with us your experiences in reviving your organization with tremendous financial returns in such a short span of time. We look forward to learning more from your detailed presentations and elaborate case studies. Now, moving on to the competitions. As you are all aware that essay writing and poster making competitions were organized in CDOT to mark the observance of Vigilance Awareness Week 2020 in an earnest endeavor to raise public awareness and encourage the participation of CDOTians in the fight against corruption. There are cash prizes of Rs 4,000, Rs 3,000 and Rs 2,000 for the first, second and third positions respectively, along with 2 consolation prizes of Rs 1,000 each in both the category of competitions. We would also like to inform you that a jury comprising of CDOT officers, namely Shri Aurindam Bhattacharya, Shri Satish Nair from Bangalore, and Ms. Vibha Bisht evaluated the entries of these competitions. We shall now be announcing the names of winners of these competitions. We shall start with the essay writing competition first. Total entries, as Sir is telling, were 35 in this category of competition. So I would like to request our esteemed guest, Shri Rajiv Verma, to give away the first and second prize in essay writing competition. The first prize in essay writing competition goes to Mr. Subhadeep Das. Ladies and gentlemen, the first prize in this category goes to Mr. Subhadeep Das. The second prize in essay writing competition goes to Mr. Ayush Agarwal. Mr. Ayush Agarwal. Thank you, sir. May I now request Dr. Rajkumar Upadhyay, Executive Director CDOT, to give away the prizes to the remaining winners in this category of competition. The third prize in this category goes to Ms. Manjula Satish. She's a Bangalore staff. She's not here at the moment. So we will move on to the consolation prizes in this category. The first consolation prize goes to Ms. Swati Garg. Is she here at the moment? So she is also not here at the moment. The second consolation prize in this category goes to Ms. Srimai Krishna. She is the daughter of our staff, Mr. Tanay Krishna. I request him to receive the award on her behalf. Ms. Srimai Krishna. Thank you, sir. We now move on to the next category of competition, that is the poster making competition. May I request our esteemed guest, Shri Sanjeev Kumar Chadha, to give away the first and second prize in this category of competition. The first prize in poster making competition goes to Mr. Mohit Kumar Boriwal. Mr. Mohit, is he here at the moment? Please. Mr. Mohit Kumar Boriwal, the first prize in poster making competition.
Mohit was winner last year also, I think. Yes, sir. Am I right? Yes, sir.
The second prize in this category is backed by Ms. Diganta Jeena. She is a staff from Bangalore, so she is not here at the moment. Thank you, sir. May I now request Shri Jayant Bhatnagar, Director CDOT, to give away the third prize in this competition. The third prize in this competition goes to Ms. Srimai Krishna. daughter of Mr. Tanay Krishna. I request him to receive the award on her behalf. Ms. Srimai Krishna. Thank you, sir. I now request Mr. Vikas Agarwal, Director SPPI, Department of Telecommunications, Government of India, to give away the consolation prizes in this category of competition. The first consolation prize in this category goes to Mr. Debashish Pramanik. Is Mr. Debashish here at the moment? I think he's not here. So I request somebody from his group to take the award on his behalf. Mr. Tanay Krishna can receive award on his behalf.
Thank you.
The second consolation prize in this category goes to Ms. Ankita Gupta. Ms. Ankita Gupta. Thank you, sir. We congratulate all our winners and participants. Ladies and gentlemen, may I now request Dr. Rajkumar Upadhyay, Executive Director CDOT, to present a token of thanks and gratitude to our esteemed guests. Shri Rajiv Verma, Officer on Special Duty, Central Vigilance Commission. We thank you, sir, for your enriching talks in the areas of vigilance. Shri Sanjeev Kumar Chadha, Managing Director, National Agricultural Cooperative Marketing Federation of India, NEFED. Thank you, sir. We look forward to learning more from you. May I now request Shri Surya Prakash, Chief Vigilance Officer, CDOT, to present a token of thanks and gratitude to our panel of judges for the competitions. Shri Arindam Bhattacharya, so may I request you to please come on the stage. Shri Arindam Bhattacharya, Ms. Vibha Bisht, Ms. Vibha Bisht, and our third judge, Mr. Satish Nair, is a Bangalore staff. Thank you, sir. May I now request Shri Tanay Krishna, Head Marketing CDOT, for the vote of thanks.
Respected Dr. Rajkumar Upadhyay, Executive Director CDOT, Shri Rajiv Verma, OSD CDC, Shri Sanjeev Kumar Chadha, CMD NAFED, Shri Jayan Bhatnagar ji, Shri Rajesh Sharma gave a video message, and Shri Surya Prakash CVO, my dear colleagues and friends. It's my proud privilege to present vote of thanks on today's function. As you know, CDOT observed Vigilance Awareness Week starting on 27th October and ending today, which is 2nd November. As you know and as you have witnessed, today's function has added more knowledge to vigilance in the area of vigilance administration as well. Eradicating corruption, as is told, is a Herculean task, but what I make out is for a corruption-free society, all stakeholders, including government, citizen and private sector, must share the responsibility. So we have to make honesty as a habit. The economic and social development of the country definitely demands a corruption-free India, and let us together pledge for build a corruption-free India. So we thank all the members, including people who make it success. First of all, we would like to thank Shri Rajiv Verma for his talk today, sir. You have provided us with all knowledge and process procedure and basically vigilance administration and awareness, which is so important to us. Sir, we thank you and taking your precious time out and address us here. Also, I thank Shri Chadda ji for his insight on the area of knowledge on very facet of business administration of the organization vis-a-vis the vigilance means. And we all feel buoyant on your good work, sir. Thank you so much. We also sincerely thank our Executive Director, Dr. Upadhyay, for addressing us on this special occasion and the topic. I also thank CDOT Director, Dr. Rajesh Sharma, for the video message, and Shri Jain Bhatnagarji, Director 1, for kind views on vigilance awareness. We especially thank Shri Vikas Agrawal, Director SPPI, for gracing this occasion. Special thanks also goes to Shri Surya Prakash ji, CVO CDOT, who has coordinated all the programs of the week's vigilance awareness in this very organization, and also this platform which is now video casted to Bangalore. Thank you, Surya Prakash ji. Thanks also goes to all the staff members and participants of the posters and essay competition who have directly or indirectly helped to make Vigilance Week a success and contributory. I sincerely thank also to the judges for their kind effort, bringing out the results very timely and on best form. Special thanks also goes to my colleague Aman Singhania for anchoring this program. I also thank Vigilance team members, marketing and administration in Delhi and Bangalore for all their contributions. I thank you all who have attended and listened to this important talk, all the special awareness which we come and they have become knowledgeable. Thank you so much. Thank you once more.